She told her family she was going Christmas shopping. She left the house at 8:30 p.m. She never came home. Her van vanished. Her trail went cold. And for more than 2 decades, no one has been able to explain what happened to Michele.
On December 9, 2001, 38-year-old Michele Lyn Hundley Smith left her home in Eden, North Carolina. To the outside world, Michele was an ordinary mother of 3. She wasn't known for risky behavior. She didn't have a history of running away. She wasn't living a secret double life, at least none that investigators ever uncovered. She was described as dependable, family-oriented, emotionally invested in her children. Those details matter, because when adults disappear voluntarily, there are usually... December 9, 2001, Michele reportedly left home around 8:30 p.m. She told family members she was heading to Martinsville, Virginia, just across the state line, to do some Christmas shopping. It was the holiday season. Stores were open late. The explanation made sense. She was driving a dark green 1995 Pontiac Trans Sport van with North Carolina license plate ROKNON. And then, nothing. She never returned home.
When Michele didn't return, concern escalated quickly. Family members reported her missing. The Rockingham County Sheriff's Office began investigating. Initially, investigators considered the common possibilities. Did she leave voluntarily? Was she meeting someone? Did she have undisclosed relationship issues? Could this be a domestic situation? But early signs suggested something more troubling. Michele left. When a person disappears with their vehicle, investigators rely heavily on locating that vehicle. Vehicles are easier to track than people. They leave physical evidence, VIN numbers, metal remains, registration records, insurance flags, scrapyard databases. Yet in Michele's case, her 1995 Pontiac Trans Sport has never surfaced. That raises 3 dominant investigative theories. Theory 1, foul play with concealment. If Michele encountered someone that night, willingly or unwillingly, her vehicle could have been deliberately hidden. Deep water disposal is a known method. Rural North Carolina and southern Virginia contain large bodies of water and remote wooded areas. To understand cases like this, you examine victimology. What kind of person was Michele? Was she risk-averse or spontaneous? Was she trusting? Was she under stress? Family members described her as caring and connected to her children. That does not eliminate voluntary disappearance, but it lowers its probability. More than 20 years have passed. Cases like this enter what investigators call cold status. But cold does not mean closed. DNA technology has advanced dramatically since 2001. Ground-penetrating sonar has helped recover vehicles from lakes. Crowdsourced investigations have reopened forgotten leads. Yet Michele's case remains unresolved. Her name still appears in national databases. Her children grew up without answers. And the van, the critical piece, has never been located. Time can erase witnesses. It can degrade evidence, but it can also expose secrets. Someone somewhere knows. On December 9, 2001, Michele Lyn Hundley Smith left her home in Eden, North Carolina, around 8:30 p.m., telling her family she was heading to Martinsville, Virginia for Christmas shopping. She never came back. Her 1995 dark green Pontiac Trans Sport was never found. And for more than 2 decades, investigators have faced one haunting question. Did Michele actually go where she said she was going? To understand this case, you have to understand the terrain. Eden, North Carolina sits close to the Virginia state line. Martinsville is roughly 25 to 30 minutes away by car, depending on the route. It's not a cross-country drive, it's a short regional trip. But here's the critical detail. Between Eden and Martinsville are long stretches of rural roadway, wooded areas, dark highways, limited lighting, and in 2001, significantly less surveillance infrastructure than we have today. Back then, investigators often examine whether a missing person's stated destination aligns with established habits. Did Michele frequently shop in Martinsville? Was late-night shopping normal for her? Did she typically travel alone at night? Family members indicated that the trip wasn't out of character. Holiday shopping late in the season isn't unusual. But 8:30 p.m. departure time does create a limited operational window. Assuming she arrived around 9 p.m., she would have had maybe 1 or 2 hours before most stores closed in 2001. That short time frame raises a question. Was Christmas shopping the sole purpose of the trip, or was it a secondary explanation for another meeting? There is no public evidence confirming a secret appointment, but investigators must consider all possibilities. The most puzzling aspect of this case is still the missing van. Vehicles do not vanish easily. Let's break down realistic scenarios. Scenario A: submerged disposal. North Carolina and Southern Virginia contain lakes, rivers, and quarry pits.
Even when families are certain their loved one would never leave, investigators must evaluate the voluntary disappearance angle. Adults can leave. It happens. But voluntary disappearances usually follow patterns: preparation, withdrawn behavior beforehand, financial movement, communication planning, emotional distancing. There has been no public evidence of those behaviors in Michelle's case. She did not withdraw money, she did not empty accounts, she did not communicate a desire to leave, she did not take her children. And here's the critical factor: she left her life intact. Voluntary disappearance. Statistically speaking, when an adult disappears with no financial activity and no contact for over 2 decades, the probability of survival decreases significantly. It's a difficult reality. But statistics are not conclusions. There are rare cases where individuals have resurfaced years later. The problem here is the totality of disappearance. No body, no vehicle, no digital trail, no credible sightings. That combination narrows likely outcomes. For more than 20 years, Michele Lyn Hundley Smith has existed in a space between presence and absence. No body, no van, no arrest. And when a case remains unsolved for this long, investigators begin asking a different kind of question. Was this random, or was this personal? Because statistically, when an adult woman disappears without a trace, the answer is more often found close to home than far away. In adult female disappearance cases, investigators first examine intimate relationships. Not because they assume guilt, but because probability demands it. National crime data consistently shows that when women are victims of fatal violence, December 9, 2001, 8:30 p.m. departure. If someone planned to intercept Michele, they would have needed to know she was leaving, when she was leaving, the route she was taking. Random predators don't usually possess that level of timing precision. Planned offenders sometimes do. Now consider this. Was Michelle's trip spontaneous or discussed earlier in the day? Did anyone know her exact timing? Those details are rarely released publicly, but they are critical in narrowing suspects, because pre-knowledge reduces randomness. Some cold case investigators quietly explore an uncomfortable possibility. Was Michele meeting someone? Another possibility investigators weigh carefully is accidental death. Could Michele have driven off-road? Into water? Into a remote ravine? Vehicle-based accidental disappearances have been solved years later when cars were discovered underwater. However, several factors complicate that scenario. No skid mark reports, no abandoned debris, no reported crash scenes, no surface vehicle remains. Most accidental crashes leave some trace, even if minor. The total absence of physical evidence shifts probability towards intentional concealment. As years pass, cold cases change in nature. Witness memories degrade, alibis solidify, people relocate, potential suspects age. But technology improves. DNA databases expand, sonar scanning becomes more accessible, public tip lines grow more effective through online visibility. Small-town disappearances carry a unique dynamic. Communities talk, rumors spread, but loyalty and fear can silence potential witnesses. In cases where the perpetrator is local, social proximity can suppress information flow. People may suspect, but they may not report, or they may lack proof. After 2 decades, any secret tied to this case would require sustained silence. That suggests either a very isolated incident or very few individuals involved. The more people required to hide a crime, the harder it becomes to maintain secrecy, which again narrows probability. There's a question rarely asked in public discussions. What if Michelle's disappearance wasn't planned by someone else, but triggered by something unexpected that night? An argument, a confrontation, a chance encounter escalating beyond control. Crimes of passion often lead to rushed concealment, but rushed concealment usually leaves mistakes, and investigators have never What if the key to solving Michele Lyn Hundley Smith's disappearance isn't a confession, not a witness, not even DNA, but a vehicle sitting silently underwater, waiting to be found? Because after more than 2 decades, one truth stands out. If the van is located, the case changes overnight. When people think cold cases are solved, they imagine dramatic confessions or sudden DNA matches. In reality, long-term missing adult cases usually resolve through one of 4 pathways: accidental discovery of remains or vehicle, technological advancement, deathbed confession, relationship breakdown between accomplices. Now apply those to Michelle's case. There are no known accomplices, no known remains, no identified suspect, and no publicly disclosed forensic evidence. That leaves one dominant unresolved element: the missing 1995 Pontiac Trans Sport. Because if Michele was the victim of foul play, whoever was responsible made a critical decision after the act: what to do with the vehicle. Vehicle disposal is high risk. Driving it draws attention, abandoning it leaves evidence, destroying it requires resources. Submerging it reduces visibility dramatically. From a behavioral standpoint, submersion suggests geographic familiarity, emotional calm post-incident, time to act without interruption. That implies either premeditation or confidence, and confidence usually comes from familiarity with terrain, which again brings the investigation back towards someone local. When a person has been missing for over 20 years with 0 confirmed contact, probability modeling shifts significantly. The likelihood of voluntary disappearance decreases with each passing year without financial footprint. The likelihood of survival without identity change becomes statistically minimal. This is
There is a scenario law enforcement almost never dismisses entirely: staged departure. What if Michele left intending to meet someone voluntarily, and the situation escalated unexpectedly? That scenario blends elements of privacy and confrontation. It explains lack of defensive activity at home, no obvious abduction signs, sudden disappearance mid-trip. In such cases, crimes are often impulsive, but concealment afterward can be methodical. The duality between emotional reaction and calculated cleanup is common in interpersonal violence. If that occurred here, the person...
If this case were prioritized today, investigative options would include comprehensive sonar sweeps of regional waterways, reanalysis of archived evidence using advanced DNA techniques, re-interviewing persons of interest with modern cognitive interview methods, geographic profiling software mapping likely concealment zones, license plate database retroanalysis, where after 20+ years, no body, no vehicle, no arrest. When a case survives that long without resolution, investigators begin asking a blunt question: who benefited from Michele Smith never coming home? Because in criminal investigation, benefit is often the quiet fingerprint no one sees at first. When an adult disappears without financial movement, without communication, without recovery of remains, investigators narrow to 3 broad conclusions: voluntary disappearance, accidental death with concealment, homicide. We've already examined why voluntary disappearance weakens over time in Michelle's case. No new identity, no financial trail, no confirmed sightings, no contact with her children. That leaves 2 remaining. When someone disappears permanently, the ripple effect creates winners and losers: financial benefits, emotional freedom, removal of conflict, control over shared assets, avoidance of exposure. Investigators always ask, did someone's life become easier after Michele vanished? That doesn't imply guilt, it narrows direction. Insurance payouts, relationship shifts, relocations, sudden behavioral changes. These are factors investigators quietly examine in long-term disappearances. And even if nothing obvious surfaced publicly, those analyses would have been conducted internally.
Because benefit, even subtle, is rarely coincidental. Let's return one last time to the van. A dark green 1995 Pontiac Trans Sport, North Carolina plate ROKNON. If the van is discovered tomorrow, the entire case pivots. If underwater, accidental or concealed disposal. If buried or hidden, clear criminal. In 2001, Michele was 38 years old. Today, she would be in her early 60s. Her children are adults now. Entire life chapters unfolded without her presence. That's the human cost of an unsolved case. Not headlines, not statistics, absence. And absence has weight. Michele Lyn Hundley Smith remains listed as a missing endangered adult. Her case is still technically open, which means one critical thing. It is not over. Cold does not mean closed. It means waiting. Waiting for new technology, new witnesses, new courage, or a discovery that was always there. Because in long-term disappearances involving vehicles, history shows us something consistent. The breakthrough usually comes from the environment.